My name is Lisa, and I was diagnosed with LGI1 AE in February 2018. Like so many other patients, the journey to diagnosis was long and complicated and required strong support from my family and lots of solid self advocacy. While I no longer undergo treatment for AE, I consider myself to still be living with AE, as every now and then, especially if I'm fighting a cold or I've been overdoing it, I have some neurological symptoms return. Through the AE Stronger Together campaign, I hope to share the many different things that I did to recover one step at a time. Taking one step at a time and being open to many different approaches were key to my recovery. My journey to recovery really began while I was in hospital in December 2017 at my lowest point. I had been admitted for a course of high dose steroids. I could no longer walk without the support of a walker. Feeling very overwhelmed in those early days, a very dear friend said to me, "Your job is to get to the next step." She encouraged me to do everything I could to recover, but to take it one step at a time. From the hospital bed, I really began my recovery journey. Over time, my definition of recovery has evolved as I have evolved too. Even today, I'm constantly setting new goals for myself. For me, the most important thing about recovery and my advice to you is to take it one step at a time. I try to be present and not dwell on the past. Mindset is so important, and I learned to never call AE my disease, as I didn't want it to become part of who I am. I don't think recovery is always linear. I think sometimes in recovery, we take two steps forward and maybe one step back. And I think that's very true with brain injury from AE. When I was discharged from the hospital, I could no longer walk independently, and I was so weak that my mom had to help me shower. I started rehabilitation therapy the next week and spent about 5 hours a week at the outpatient clinic doing all kinds of therapy for at least the next 6 months. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, therapy in the pool, and speech therapy. Rehab exhausted me, and at times I was sleeping 20 hours a day, using what little energy I had left to try to be present for my boys when they got home from school. My memory was really terrible, and I couldn't tolerate any noise without startling at the slightest sound. That was really hard in a house full of three boys, let me tell you. Um, Rehab was hard work, but over time I progressed from relying on the walker to using a cane and eventually got back to my previous active lifestyle. At the same time that I was doing all the rehab therapy, I was also helped immensely by regular visits to an integrative medicine expert with more than 40 years experience and extensive qualifications in the areas of medical acupuncture, applied kinesiology, nutrition, and homeopathy. As I lay in the hospital bed having these steroids, wondering what life would look like for me in the future. I began a daily meditation practice because I knew that meditation was good for the brain, and it really seemed to calm my brain, and it's a practice I still continue today. I immediately changed my diet and stopped eating anything that could cause inflammation in my body to give it a better chance of recovery. I stopped eating gluten, dairy, and sugar. I stopped consuming any alcohol. I cut out meat. I stopped drinking coffee, opting for green tea or herbal tea instead, and I stopped eating processed foods. I filled my diet with as many fresh vegetables and foods that I could. I admit that this was quite an extreme approach initially, but it also gave me some control at a time when I didn't have a lot of control over what was happening in my body as the AE was taking over at that time. Over time, as I learned more about the benefits of eating an alkaline diet, I have found what works for me and still love cooking and eating healthy food. Looking back on my journey to recovery from AE, I'm most proud that I never lost hope. Somehow, I always knew that I would recover. It took a lot of hard work, advocacy, and a willingness to tackle my recovery using multiple approaches, but I did it. As a result of the AE, I have made lifelong changes for the better and demonstrated to my kids that with perseverance and hard work, recovery can be possible. One of my big moments of celebration was getting back on downhill skis, and it was my goal to get back on skis, and even if I only did one run on Little Mucker, that was my goal.